Good afternoon. I want to thank you for inviting me to this study, and it sounds like it would be a lot of fun. So let's get started. My name is Dana, and if my friends could describe me in three words, they would more than likely use funny, um, business minded, and protective. They would say funny because I have a huge sense of humor, and I come from a long line of genetic sarcasm. Let me say that right. I always tend to find humor in every situation. I can always find a way to make you laugh no matter how serious things are, not because I'm trying to deflect from the seriousness of it, but let's just face it, has plenty of ups and downs, and there's no point in allowing a down to just like take over your world. There's always a solution to every problem. It's not that serious. Unless it's life or death, it's not that serious. We can fix it. Um, they would say business minded because I am very big on business. I'm always thinking of business. I'm always thinking about different ways to get business done and how to make business grow. I've had my own startups as well as I've helped others help their startups to grow. I'm always thinking about communal efforts and how we can invest in each other. They would, last but not least, say protective because I am always the mama bear of every group, no matter what the age group is or how large or small the group is. I'm the one who's always looking after everyone in the group, making sure that everyone is okay. I'm usually the organizer, um, the one who handles all the logistics for everything, and I love making sure every T is crossed and every I is dotted. Um, One small thing that I've recently cut out of my life, which probably isn't small, I have cut out wasting time. Uh, Certain habits that I used to have, whether it's physically going to grocery stores, physically going in store shopping, doing things that really take up a whole day when I could actually be using a lot of that day to be more productive. I've finally decided to join the age of technology even further and say, okay, let me just order a lot of these things online, whether it's general grocery shopping where I'm replenishing some large heavy items, or I know what needs to be replenished every week. Why don't I go ahead and order it? And if I'm doing it a certain dollar amount, I'm actually going to save money, and it's not going to cost me anything for the delivery. All of those things are very, very important because it's allowing me to work smarter and not harder. I'm in my mid 40s at this point, and you're feeling it in your body. And the last thing you want to do is go schlepping around stores and pushing carts and carrying cases of water. And none of that really works after a certain age. I'm not a teenager. I don't like to pretend like I'm a teenager, so I don't understand why people my age are still moving like they're teenagers and then complaining about everything hurting. In the age of technology, we have a lot of assistance, so I'm taking advantage of that. I finally feel comfortable enough in this age of technology to do that. Um, what is my approach to parenting, my parenting style? I'm a mix of two. I'm pretty hands on without being intrusive or overbearing. I believe in guiding my children, but giving them the space to grow. With every year, there should be certain milestones being met, or I can see a growth in your thinking and in some of your movements, and I like to encourage that. I'm very involved and hands on with my kids. I drive them to their practices, cook dinner at least, home cooked meals at least 5 to 6 nights out of the week. I really only take off on Friday evenings because there is a certain point where I really just don't want to do any dirty dishes and I don't want to be in the kitchen, so I just do that one day a week. But other than that, I make sure we have to sit down and family dinners. I make sure we're spending time with them. I check up on them, ask how they're doing. I'll watch certain TV shows of theirs or series that they watch on YouTube that are their favorite. I'll watch movies with them. I like to see what they're interested in, and I like to support what they're interested in. If they're participating in certain sports, my one son loves to play basketball and football, so I know during that time of year, I'm on practice duty, I'm on game duty. We make as many games as we possibly can. But I also like to give my kids the space to mature. Just like my one son, who's 14, going to be 15 soon, in very few short years, he's legally going to be an adult. So for me to parent too much or to overparent at this time is a hindrance. It's not going to help him be prepared for the world. So he's actually at the stage where I allow him to make certain decisions for himself, even if I know that decision is going to be a failure. I have him explain to me what he's going to do and why he made that decision. And then when the event occurs, we revisit it. why this didn't work, why that didn't work. Let's try to do better going forward. Because at this point, he's still in a safe environment where if he makes a mistake or he screws something up, my husband and I are here to catch him. We're his safety net. We know we can help him. Once he's out there in the real world and we're challenging him with adulthood, it's very different. That world does not love you. They're not going to overlook those mistakes. And they may even take advantage of you overlooking something, which is what caused that mistake. So this is the next few years, we're actually taking the time to make sure that he is ready to start making certain adult decisions for himself. And we do them one at a time. I also slip him just a little bit more responsibility sometimes just to see how he does with it. If he passes a certain test with flying colors, okay, now that becomes something that we're going to make part of your regular schedule. If not, then we're going to go back and revisit it because I need to see why you're still not grasping this. Is this because you're just a typical teenager that does not care? Or is this because you really just don't get it and you need to actually learn it a little bit better so you can understand it and make it a part of your regular routine? A funny story about parenting that we had recently. It's actually not so much a funny story as it is a very proud story, I guess. I guess you could say it's funny just because of my sense of humor. When my youngest son went to school last year, we actually homeschooled him for kindergarten because we were still in the pandemic and we weren't ready to send him back to the school full time yet. He hadn't really received his shots and everything else, and we were still weighing our options with that. So last year was his first full year of school on site. It was his first grade year. And the funny story was I thought that I was going to get him interested in education. I had already paved the way prior years, but once he got to school, like he showed me how he was ready. I thought I was going to have to read to him every night and encourage him to do this, encourage him to do that because he is very much so into technology. I thought regular books would bore him, all that kind of stuff. But then I ended up realizing that no, he is actually excelling. He's actually interested in education, and I thought it would be a little tricky teaching him the discipline of wanting to learn how to read on his own, and maybe it would take that whole calendar year. And when he first started school that September, within a week, he said, I'm going to learn how to read this year. I'm going to learn how to read. And within less than 2 months, he actually learned all of the basic phonics and taught himself he finished teaching himself how to read. By the time we were convening for winter break, he was reading books to me. And it was the reason why I find that story funny is because I can have an idea about my child or about my children or think certain things of them, and they will prove me totally wrong, or they will show me, no, that's actually an area where I have a strength, not a weakness. So you don't need to hold my hand so much, just reinforce it. So the reason why it's, mainly funny to me is because I had one idea and my child had another, and they showed me what time it was, and I just went along for the ride. So it went from me reading them stories at night and reading him the books that he brought home to him now reading the books to me. And he did that within 2 months. And what was most impressive is that phonics was always tricky for me. So technically, I know he did not get that from me genetically, but he worked on his phonics so well in such a short period of time that he is now able to read words that he's never even seen before. So when I test him and I challenge him, he passes that with flying colors. I'll give him big words and have him read certain parts of adult age books, not inappropriate, but just adult age language. And he will sound that word out and say it right the first time. It's very, very rare he doesn't say it completely correct. I can get him with the silent letters and silent sounds and stuff like that, but other than that, like he reads better than most adults. How are you different from the parents around you? Oh, a lot of the parents around me, they're not in the same lane that I am. Either they're overly strict, extremely nosy, and there are no boundaries between them and their children. I think they do that smother parent sort of thing, and they do a little bit too much, or they try to be their kid's friend, and they care about what their kid thinks about every little thing they're doing, as opposed to realizing that maybe one day when we become adults, we can become friends because we're both grown and we have a mutual respect for each other. But at this point, If you like me all the time, I am clearly doing something wrong, because that means I'm thinking on the level of a child. There are going to be some times when you don't like me, but it can't be because I'm being malicious or abusive or rude or any of those things. It just has to be because I told you no at a time where you wanted me to say yes. That's typical parenting. You're going to be upset with me sometimes, but if as long as you understand that my response is coming from a place of love, I'm not abusing you, I'm not calling you names, I'm not putting you down, I'm giving you the honest answer and the reasoning behind why. A lot of adults will not give the reason why, they just say because I said so. And then the child never actually learns. It doesn't become an adopted behavior. It just becomes, I'm doing this just because I'm being told. I'm doing this just because I'm being told. And the second that they're out of your sight, or they have the freedom to do whatever it is that they would like to do, they're going to do what they always wanted to do, not what they were trained to do, because they never learned the why. I do take the time to explain the why, even if a kid doesn't want to hear it, because it's not yes. You're going to understand my reasoning. So hopefully your reasoning will develop. You got to see long. My vision is long. Kids' vision is not. I also have the other set of parents that seems like they just don't care. I have some friends that really act like the child is supposed to be parenting them, and I'll hear the kids come into room and then they give orders to the parent, or they tell the parent what to do, and it's so weird to just see children have that sort of authority over adults. I've never experienced that. It's fun to me. You can ask me a question, you can suggest something and then wait for my answer, but you can't ever tell me what to do. That's very backwards, and it kind of seems like a lot of those roles that flipped nowadays. Maybe it's because parents are tired, or the kids are so quick-witted they're getting over on it, but that just seems out of order to me, and it just doesn't sit right. Okay, the styles I hear about around me, you will hear a lot of parents claim that they're strict, but it's very, very rare I come across parents who are actually strict. My parents were strict to a certain extent, but they gave us the leeway to grow, and that's what's really, really important. It's when it comes to certain rules, I care about your morals. I care about how you treat yourself and how you treat others. I care about how you handle your emotions and your temper during times of adversity. All of that is very important, because if you have no self-control, you're not going to have any control over your life or anything that's going on around you. I rarely come across parents that really teach self-control. I come across friends, family, people in the neighborhood that are really teaching control. You do what I say just because I say it. You're not teaching them to think for themselves, even if it's independent of you or the opposite of how you think. What parenting or lifestyle influences do you follow or admire? I admire the parents who have really such a great relationship with their children, and their children trust them so much that all they have to do is say a few words and the child gets it. Even if they don't agree or they don't like the response, they know that your response is coming from a place of love. They know your yeses come from the same place of love as your no's. I admire parents who have that healthy balance between being authoritative and being loving. I'm a firm believer in tough love or hard love, but I'm not one of those people that eliminates the love part. The love is very important if you're being a little tough. I might be tough in certain instances, but my language is not going to be. My love for that love is going to be in there. My delivery and how I give it to you. If you disappoint me or make me angry in some sort of way, I'm not going to respond in a tantrum or act as though I'm a child and we're going to go back and forth now. It's no, you disappointed me, this is why, but I'm still able to make eye contact with you. I'm still able to sit down and eat with you. A couple minutes later, if I was planning on doing something with you, I'm still going to do that. The punishment is not to take away love. The punishment would be to sort of take away a privilege. Love is not a privilege. Love is something that is supposed to be automatic. We are automatically supposed to love our children because they did not ask to be here. And they came here with nothing, naked in the world, and we are supposed to give them everything. So when I see adults who take love away from their children as a punishment because they disappointed them, I don't like that. You can take away amenities. You can take away extras. You can have them earn certain things back. But I will never, ever take away love. Children understand me very well. Even when I'm highly angry or disappointed, I'm still going to have this same demeanor when I'm talking to them. It might be a little bit shorter. I may not smile so much when I'm speaking. You're not going to have the Mary Poppins voice. But what you are going to get from me is real, and you're going to know it's love. And then usually after I leave you a little bit of time to yourself, I'll come back and check on you, and I'll do something loving so that you know I still care. So that you know, even though you disappointed me or made me upset, or what you did cost me a whole lot of money because you just did not care, I still love you. So I'm still going to make your favorite dinner. We're still going to watch that movie tonight like we were going to watch. But that, I compartmentalize. I don't now make it spill over into every other area of our relationship as parent and child. It's just that area where there's a problem where we need to work on. But the other areas were fine, and I'm going to continue to feed those other areas because at the end of the day, I'm trying to convince you to do the right thing, to be on the right side of history, to make the right choices, and to learn how to be a little more empathetic and to put yourself in someone else's shoes. Now, that's very hard to do with teenagers because they're extremely selfish, and I understand that, but I still have to try.